Pipelines Subcommittee, got Mr. Kumede, Madam Maseti, Mr. Sbanda, Advocates Tole, who are going to be assisting in terms of this meeting today, and there's management led by Madam Tua from the Petroleum Pipelines Regulation Division. We'll then proceed with the agenda, where we actually have got about 6 agenda items that we are going to be dealing with. In fact, there are 7 reduced to 5 because agendas items 7 and 9 have been withdrawn to be tabled in the next PPS meeting of March 2024. We'll look at the piloting of the tariff methodology for the setting of tariffs for petroleum pipeline facilities, which is version 8. Then we'll look at the decision and reasons for decision on the Transnet tariff application for its petroleum pipeline system for the 2024-25 tariff year. That's for recommendation to, both of these are for recommendation to the energy regulator. Then a report on the implementation to determine uncommitted capacity at the petroleum storage facilities. We'll also deal with the decision and reasons for decision on the tariff application by Shell Downstream South Africa for its 6 petroleum storage facilities across South Africa for the period 1 January 2024 to 31st December 2026. Then we'll look at the inland security of supply. Soon then we'll move to closure of the open meeting. Without much ado, then let me allow Madam Tua to assist us regarding the report on the piloting of tariff methodology for the setting of tariffs for petroleum pipelines facilities, which is version 8 for recommendation to ER. Over to you, Madam Tua.
Thank you, sir. Good morning to the members of the public, and good morning again to the members of the subcommittee and the colleagues. Ms. Azania will assist in terms of introducing the item that we're discussing now on the piloting. You will note that it was considered and approved by the energy regulator in March last year, and then we were conducting the piloting this year. And therefore we are just bringing the results of that piloting and further consideration for the subcommittee and ER. Ms. Yogana, if you can please come in and just highlight the reason for the request that we're putting forward. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Morning, Chair, morning, colleagues and members. As stated, the purpose of the submission is to request that the PPS firstly notes and recommends for noting by the energy regulator the report on the internal piloting of version 8 of the tariff methodology for petroleum pipelines, which is attached here to as Annexure A. And secondly, to recommend to the energy regulator the approval of the publication of version 8 of the tariff methodology for the setting of tariffs for petroleum pipelines facilities, and it is attached here to as Annexure B. And lastly, to recommend to the energy regulator the approval of the transitioning of version 8 of the tariff methodology for petroleum pipelines over a maximum period of 24 months from the date of the ER approval. As stated by the EM, the energy regulator of March 2023 recommended that the revised tariff methodology be piloted and the reports be submitted to PPS for noting at 6 months intervals. And so the first biannual report on the piloting was noted by the PPS of 4 October 2023, and the deliberations of that PPS are contained in Table 7 of the cover submission, and this is the final report and is contained in Annexure A. And the key objective for the piloting was to prepare the industry for the implementation of the new and revised components of the methodology, and also to decide on the final changes to the amended methodology. So the results will also contribute towards the amendment of the frequently asked questions. The piloting was conducted on tariff applications that were set by the energy regulator of the recent financial year periods, and those are outlined in paragraph 5.4 of the cover submission, as well as in the report that's attached here to as Annexure A. In summary, the results show that, firstly, the general amendments as applied to version 8 of the tariff methodology yields relatively efficient tariffs when compared to the previous version 7. And the key determinants of such changes or of the results include the removal of the liquidity premium from the risk adjustment factors in the cost of equity determination formula. Also, the conversion of the tax approach from the notional to the flow-through tax approach, and all the pipeline facilities were using the notional tax approach, so we had to convert to the flow-through as it's only the only tax approach to be applied in version 8. Another key determinant was the removal of the time value of money, and also the deferment of allowable revenue in the case of Transnet, which also includes the creation of regulatory assets. However, at the end of the piloting and after considering the research from RA, it is recommended that the time value of money be retained as opposed to the initial suggestion to remove it, and that it's retained in the methodology in the manner that it's currently applied. And the extended transitioning will then deal with the issues of harmonization, as the other regulated divisions do not have the time value of money. Therefore, it's recommended that the PPS notes and recommends for noting by the energy regulator the report on the internal piloting of version 8 of the tariff methodology for petroleum pipelines facilities attached here to as Annexure A. Recommends to the ER the approval of the publication of version 8 of the tariff methodology for the setting of tariffs for petroleum pipelines facilities attached here to as Annexure B, and recommends to the ER the approval of the transitioning of version 8 of the tariff methodology for the period of a maximum of 24 months from the date of the approval by the energy regulator. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I take it that you're also comparing notes with internally with the other representative divisions as well as RAR on these issues. Yeah, so it's on that basis, and I think it would be important to include that when it comes to submissions, just to make sure that we don't continue to work in silos, but we actually cross-pollinate and are able to have a better product than if it was only looked at by one division. I would then like to take this opportunity, members, to give you a chance to ask questions, comment, or provide guidance by show of hands. Thank you, Madam Masetti. And then Mr. Sibanda.
Thank you, Chairperson. And thank you to the presenter. Chairperson, I just want to get clarification on the issue of retaining the time value of money. And you'll recall that this is something that we were still under debate at NERSA. And I recall that even in the electricity division some few years back, it was an issue of whether or not this is something that the regulator wants to do. So if we are retaining it in this version that we are going to publish, what are the reasons? Firstly, and then secondly, I think it is also important that we anticipate the impact of it, particularly to those that pay the tariffs. So that such a sort of a measure that we include in our regulatory framework is not a measure that will almost benefit only the licensees mostly, but it must be something that will also benefit the users of the system. So have we looked at that to see who stands to benefit here? Is this really something that the regulator needs to take into consideration? So that's the second thing, Chair. But also, Chairperson, you will recall that we still have issues when it comes to the projections of the volumes. So and we also tend to not scrutinize the assumptions sufficiently. Now that will lead to a clawback, especially with the methodology that we are using. So there will be clawback. Now, this will therefore mean that clawback is likely to be clawback that will benefit licensees most of the time. And therefore, even when licensees have not been efficient and have not even achieved the volumes, now it will mean that there will be some, money that the ratepayers must still, fork out to pay more because of this. What is it? The value of what is it? Time value of money. So I am very worried about that, Chairperson, because I think, first of all, let us first deal with our sort of the volume rules, as we know that there's already some inefficiencies when it comes to that, before we also, make the situation worse by including the measure, which is the time value of money, and of which, if we look at the trends, even from our side, because before we bring in a regulatory tool and intervene in this manner, we should be able to at least track how things have been going and who is likely to benefit or to suffer from this type of intervention. And if it's not balanced in terms of the economic interest of the parties involved, I will worry if we then retain it. So that is my concern, Chairperson. But I do also support the flow-through tax because it is also what we are using in gas. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Madam Massetti. Mr. Sibanda, over to you, sir.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chair, my comment is on the same matter of the time value of money. Perhaps it would assist if the team could maybe outline principles around the time value of money, so that when we consider the issue, at least there is some kind of analysis that has been done regarding the basic principles around the issue, but also to look at perhaps precedent by other regulators, not only locally, but maybe in other jurisdictions as well, just to see how the matter is approached. Yes, I think in the past we have emphasized the importance of harmonization, and I noted that Ms. Yogana did mention in her verbal presentation, but that aspect is not in the submission around harmonization. I think there's probably mention of gas, but not electricity. So perhaps it might help just to expand a little bit on that issue, so that we know what is happening around trying to align with other divisions. So for me, I think it's really an issue of saying what are we basing this on, and is there precedent out there? How are the other regulators approaching the matter? What is the situation in other jurisdictions, and so forth and so on. And then the other issue is the period of the piloting or the transitioning of the methodology. I would have loved to probably see a rationale for the 24 months. I can't recall how long we piloted previous methodologies, but maybe it might help just to give some little bit of justification or rationale as to why we think 24 months or a maximum of 24 months is recommended. Why not less? Why not more? Yeah, I think that's all from my side. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Banda. Madam Twa, in your team, may you please respond?
Thanks, Chair. So I'll start with the with your comment first on mentioning that we've worked with RA in other divisions, and to say we'll include that part as RA has a report on some of the components that we've considered, including the time value of money, and they've come to the same conclusion in terms of retaining. The report is ongoing. We will mention in the report to say that we are going to work with RA and during the extended or the transitioning period to also contribute towards the harmonization of the time value of money. And then on the comments by Ms. Maseti, in terms of the reasons for retaining the time value of money and the impact that the retainment will have, the main reason was that the licensees have and the money that's in the time value of money component as a return, and it would be against the objects of the Act in terms of ensuring a return commensurate with risk to remove the time value of money. But we do realize that the impact is on the tariffs. However, it's mostly implemented when the licenses have a clawback, and so far it's only been Transnet. And on balancing that aspect with the volume projections and the inaccuracies, we firstly implement the volume rules in order to qualify a licensee for a clawback. So this will allow us to offset the negative impact of the time value of money where if a licensee is deemed not efficient enough to apply for a clawback, then the time value of money will not be applicable as well. And on the principles of retaining or applying the time value of money from Mr. Spander's comments, we will work with RA in terms of developing those alongside the report. And we had requested them to include the benchmarking of the application or the treatment of the time value of money by the other regulated jurisdictions, and also compare to our other two regulated divisions who do not include the time value of money in their methodologies. So that will be outlined in the transitioning report. The transitioning period, the main issue on the transitioning is with regards to the efficiency adjustment factor, and also the difficulty with obtaining data in terms of piloting the exact status of Transnet as a monopoly in the pipelines segment. Because as things stand, we have been using the other not regulated firms, but the other pipelines facilities from countries with the different market structures and different regulatory framework. And the results is outlined in the report from the 2021-22 piloting show an efficient Transnet. And so we estimated that 12 months could be enough to obtain the data and start with the transitioning of the efficiency adjustment factor whilst working on the justifications for the time value of money. However, the other 12 months was to allow for, in cases we experience challenges, then we still have enough time to complete the project. But I'll allow Ms. Mtwa and Ms. Nobu to add.
Yes, before they add, I would want to then ask for give further guidance because you seem to be sidestepping the issue. But let them come in, Madam Twa.
Chair, if I may.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. Chair, I just wanted to add that, or remind members that that our recommendation initially, before approval of version 8 of the tariff methodology, was for removal of this aspect, the time value of money. But then members, after considering all the reasons that we had provisioned at the time, they requested that we further consult stakeholders as part of internal piloting. And the outcomes of those consultations were that stakeholders were saying it's a plausible financial principle inclusion of the time value of money, that is. So this is one reason we're bringing it back. And members will also recall that in as much as we are now seeing the adverse impact it has on customers, because the volumes are becoming lower and lower, especially after COVID. But then before then, when some of the licenses were projecting maybe operationalization of assets and they were being late every now and then, this financial principle actually cushioned customers. So the way we say it is that it has benefits for both customers, and it also ensures that the return on investment is properly achieved for operators. So it is on those bases that we are recommending that it be brought back And this is also backed up by research already conducted by RAR. Maybe RAR can also come in to talk to the research that they have at the moment. But then it is on that basis. I just wanted to bring the two issues that it does at some instances caution customers. And also, as Ms. Yokwane has indicated, that the issues of volume efficiencies will be considered prior to granting volume clawbacks and time value of money related thereto. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
I've been covered by colleagues. I see Dr. Maposa also has a hand up.
No, it's fine. You see, the thing is that before Maposa comes in and everyone else comes in, I'm concerned that you are busy having a winded story on this. My understanding is that what is being asked here is provide principles why this survived the change. Because it should be clear that the time value of money has always been there. The proposal was to remove it, along the issues of harmonization also being considered. But time value of money as a principle, as a financial principle, it's included, and it's something that makes sense. And that what you should be saying is include it in the submission, not wait for the transition report to talk to that. Outline why you go to the conclusion of retaining it. Firstly, you outlining that you're looking at an efficient operator here, that you deal with issues of efficiencies. That when it comes to estimation of volumes, those estimates need to fall within a particular variance, because there's no expectation of being 100% when it comes to estimates. And two, that it will apply both ways, because if a consumer is not paying a high tariff because the volumes were estimated were higher than what panned out, to some extent it is a delay in that customer paying. Yes, it's not necessarily the same customer, but you with the time, with the period that you are looking at, one can stick to that with those limitations. But when you've got that, if the customer has actually paid more, and then that time value of money must also be included in looking at the clawback in favor of the customer, which then becomes a give back. I think if you outline that from a point of view that as a plausible principle, that the person could even have taken that money and invested it elsewhere. So outline that very clearly in this submission, why you ended up not having it. With that, including what the person from RAR would then have in terms of that report. If you've got to have that annexure or a high-level summary of that study included in the report going to ER, so be it. That's all I'm looking at being an enhancement. And that when it comes to the term of 24 months, it's just to be able to have a cushion, so that you don't cut it too thin in terms of the 12 months, and that you still be gunning to have it well within the 24 months as a transition. We also don't want to have long transitions. We want to have certainty, regulatory certainty, and be able to move with speed in as far as being a regulator in the industry that is predictable and providing certainty. So this was what I'm looking at actually, because this is what the members actually are seeking here. So to have a paragraph, I know that you have stated it here and there in terms of the time value of money, but have a proper paragraph, just maybe 1 or 2 or 3 paragraphs, just outlining the issue of the time value of money, why you decided to keep it instead of removing it. Are we clear with that?
Yes, will enhance.
Okay. Do you still want to say something, Dr. Maposa?
Thank you very much, Chair. Chair, I think I'm covered by your comments. Just to indicate that we've taken note of what the members said around some of the principles or some of the arguments that need to be included in the research, and we will then do so and consult Ms. Mtwa and the team. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you. I think the issue of evidence-based decision making, so that we're basing on facts, as also provided by Madam Maseti, must come out very clear in that one. If the estimates again is that those estimates, there's some benefit that the consumers do also get, in the sense that they are not paying a higher tariff than what they should have been paying if the licensee had decided to be very conservative in terms of estimating their volumes. Members, I don't know if you still want to say something with regard to that. Are you covered, Mr. Sibanda and Madam Maseti?
Yes, I'm covered. You've touched on the points. Otherwise, as of now, the submission really is not touching on these issues and balancing the interest of all stakeholders, and also present factual information that supports this kind of intervention by the regulator. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Sibanda?
Chairperson, I'm also covered. I'm happy that the team will attend to some of the issues. But I also had a question on paragraph 4.4.7, where we are saying the TVM be retained in the methodology in the manner that is currently being applied. So I couldn't understand what we mean by that, in the manner being currently applied. I thought it was removed and is not currently being applied. So maybe if I could be clarified, what exactly do we mean? Because the intention now is to retain it in the methodology. So how is it currently being applied? Unless if it was never taken out. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you. Of essence is that it was never taken out. It was being proposed as part of the version 8. But then in looking at it, it was the resolve to revert to what is currently happening, because version 8 is not necessarily in force now. But you may respond.
Okay.
If are you covered there, Mr. Sibanda?
I'm covered. So it is in version 7.
Yes.
Not version 8. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you.
Covered. Thank you.
Thank you very much. With that, members and management, subject to the enhancement of the document as outlined in this meeting, the Petroleum Pipeline Subcommittee is requested to note and recommend for noting by the energy regulator the report on the internal piloting of version 8 of the tariff methodology for petroleum pipeline facilities, which is attached as Annexure A. 2, to recommend to ER the approval of the publication of version 8 of the tariff methodology for the setting of tariffs for petroleum pipeline facilities, attached here to as Annexure B. And thirdly and lastly, to recommend to the energy regulator ER the approval of the transitioning of version 8 of the tariff methodology for petroleum pipeline facilities over a period not exceeding 24 months from the date of the ER approval. By show of hands, members, if you support the recommendation. Thank you, Madam Maseti. Thank you, Mr. Kumete. Thank you, Mr. Sibanda. Thank you, Advocate Sithole. I also support. This then concludes item 5. We move to item 6, which deals with the decision and reasons for decision on the Transnet SOC Limited tariff application for its petroleum pipeline system for the 2024-2025 tariff year. I will give you a bit of time to make this presentation, Mr. Kaba and the team, but please be economic with time still, not that's a free for all. Let's be economic with time and touch on the key issues, noting that the matter was workshopped, and look at the responses with regard to the issues that were raised during the workshop that you said you are still going to then investigate. Over to you and the team.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, members, and good morning, colleagues. I'll try to be economical with my time, as the Chair has suggested. As Chair said, this is a submission on Transnet's tariff application for its petroleum pipeline system for the 2024-25 financial period. In carrying on with the words of the Chair, I'll consider the background of the submission as read, and maybe continue from the public hearing that was held on the 18th of December 2023 for the application, for consideration of the application. The public hearing was held virtually, and we had two presenters from Transnet, or presentations rather, from Transnet itself, as well as Sasol Oil as well. Annexure B of the submission highlights some of the responses that were received as a result of the public hearing from both Transnet as well as Sasol Oil as well. Further to that, we held consultation as necessary. We conducted stakeholder consultations with the Department of Public Enterprises, as well as the South African Reserve Bank the following day on the 19th of December 2023, and the 2026 as well as on the 26th of January 2024, respectively. In addition to those, the aspects of those considerations or those consultations are also part of the submission in the deliberations section of the submission as well. In addition to these consultations with stakeholders, we also had an extended PPS workshop with members on the 29th of January 2024 to deliberate on the application itself and the updated information as well. A summary of the deliberation was then attached as addendum 1 to the submission. I think we are familiar with what happened there. And as a result, maybe I'll go through some of the aspects of the addendum, noting the points that members had made and also points of improvement. Maybe beginning with members' call to elaborate on the comparison of pipeline tariffs with other modes of transport. Members would recall that there was a requirement for us to include other line items or other aspects involved in calculating the add-ons that subscribe to transporting product from the coast to inland. And in that section of the document, the team has enhanced the section on the comparison by also including costs that are related to secondary distribution, secondary storage and secondary distribution. Above that, we have also had a mini comparison, if I may put it that way, with how the initial calculation had been included, which had disregarded the inclusion of those line items. So, and also highlighted some incentives that shippers may have regarding transporting product through the pipeline as well as transporting product via road.
Kaba.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Kaba. I think where there are certain paragraphs that you want to cite, please do, so that members can follow through in terms of where you are, pages, etc. Please.
All right, no problem, sir. I think if members do have the updated RFD, then these enhancements can be found in paragraphs 4.54 all the way to 4.81 for reference. Members also inquired regarding volumes, where they requested us to enhance the volume assessment themselves, and according to NASA, we do have a comparison in terms of financial or economic figures, the updated economic figures regarding the volume analysis, and also we have enhanced some of the projections themselves. Members also wanted us to elaborate on Sasol Oil's comments regarding the differential that they seek in terms of in terms of the discount, rather, that they feel that they are entitled to in light of the expiry of the variation agreement, and also just to elaborate on why this where or the justification of this differential that is being applied for by Sasol, or that is required by Sasol, if I may put it that way. We have enhanced that we are in the process of conducting an internal review of the rolled-in tariff approach, and it is an internal review strictly because that the matter is sub judice, and we will be presenting an update to the members as well regarding this. In terms of operating costs, we've also enhanced justifications of the use of different CPI figures for allowable revenue elements, as well as CPI, as well as some of the OPEX line items as well in the OPEX section of the RFD. Also going into issues of product theft incidents, particularly regarding the period of the information supplied. We have supplied the updated information as at January 2024 from March 2022 as well as members' inquiry as to how these how the costs related to product theft may be shared between the utility and its customers, particularly. And in this regard, we have enhanced the section rather by requesting Transnet to go on a feasibility study, if I may put it that way, where Transnet would then give the pros and cons of including these costs or taking up an insurance policy to mitigate these costs versus passing them through in the manner that is being applied at the moment. The economic assessment has also been enhanced to include emphasis of the impact of the proposed tariffs on households and consumers with the updated assessment of the economic impact assessment study that was received from RAR. And these paragraphs are from paragraph 4.107 to paragraph 4.111, if I may put it, of that document, and also paragraph 6107 to 6161 of the RFD as well. In terms of the land rehabilitation or the financial instrument regarding land rehabilitation, we have attached a little bit of a background when it comes to this issue for the members in the addendum, and just for members to have background information on how what aspects led to the dissolving of the trust, as well as the ultimate approval of that dissolving of the trust by the energy regulator, as well as we have also enhanced the current decision by the energy regulator to actually, I'm looking for a softer word than to order or instruct Transnet to go back into the market and to look for a suitable instrument as well. In terms of stakeholder public consultation views, we have also enhanced where we can in relevant sections of the RFD as well. Also provided background information on the inclusion of the intermixture regulator plant in terms of members' queries. And if you recall, the members' queries were to highlight the impact of this asset in the RAB, as well as the allowable revenue in terms of the associated operating expenditure as well, and whether Transnet had complied with the decision of the energy regulator or the condition that for inclusion of this asset that was decided upon in the previous application, and we have also reiterated that in the addendum as well. In terms of aspects of the clawback, we have also addressed certain issues that the members may have regarding the eligibility of some of these funds, of some of these volume-related clawbacks, if I may put it that way, when it comes to the revenue clawback itself, and within the addendum itself, and also included the justification as well. As we have said, we have included an extensive elaborations or enhancements in the RFD as well. With that said, the Transnet, the other issue that we're moving into, maybe to highlight members, is that Transnet had applied for an allowable revenue of 8.2 billion, which is an increase of 20.87% from the previous determination of 2023-24. This yielding a tariff increase of 25.60%. NESA applied its methodology and they determined an allowable revenue of 8 billion, which with an increase of 17.73%. from the previous determination. This increase in allowable revenue yielding a 22.35% increase in tariffs as well, which all presented a tariff increase that is considered to be excessive. Now, in considering some of the aspects involved with such a huge increase, NERSA considered capitalizing the capitalization rather of an amount of 800 million, as well as an amount of 900 million to be deferred from the allowable revenue that National Energy Regulator determined. This will be depreciated, obviously, over the remaining useful life of the MPP assets, and this decision was taken after considering a few issues pertaining to the sustainability and stability of the entity as well, the impact on affordability for customers, and minimizing customer impact, encouraging capital expenditure, risk mitigation, and revenue recovery as well. Adapting to new dynamic to new market dynamics, long-term strategic considerations, balancing financial viability and fair tariffs, the smooth trajectory of these tariffs as well, and also the sustainability of the entity, which we have touched on initially, as well as the pending death spiral, as well as the application of the recovery of these deferred amounts over the remaining useful life of the asset through the creation of a regulatory asset as contemplated in item 37 of the RRM, or volume 4 of the RRM as well. NERSA considered both of these scenarios using these two amounts, and after considering the above mentioned, the previously mentioned considerations or aspects, we recommend that the approval rather of scenario 1, which is a deferment of an amount which is considered lower of the allowable revenue, as explained. And the NERSA recommends that we do defer the 800 million over the remaining useful life of the asset through the creation of the regulatory asset, based on the fact that this amount is the most appropriate to derive a tariff increase that is considered to be reasonable. With that said, members, we do recommend that the PPS considers the proposed decision and reasons for decision on the Transnet tariff application as attached to the documents as Annexure A, and we recommend it to the ER the decision to approve an allowable revenue of 7.2 billion after taking into consideration the 800 million that is deferred. This will in turn have an impact of increasing the allowable revenue by 5.98%, yielding a tariff increase of 10.13% for the 24-25 financial year. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Kawa. Do you want to add anything, Madam Bogo or Madam Chua?
Nothing to add, Chair.
Nothing to add, just to say that we have, I think, on the issues of the comparison with road and pipeline, we also engage the industry to check what's the percentage of the logistics that go via road and pipeline, and we yet to get some other feedback from that, and we'll include it in the submission going to ER, just to make the picture more clearer on what is really happening on the ground, because our calculation was more theoretical, just us making some assumption on the logistics in doing our comparison. and also engaging Transnet to make their own comparison so that they're able to also check from their side as to the comparison of their tariff to other alternatives. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Please note also the meeting chat posted by Madam Maseti regarding the Section 21 of the PPA in terms of implementation of differentials, which you should be able to talk to directly, noting that Section 21 reads thus: licensees may not discriminate between customers or classes of customers regarding excess tariffs, conditions, or service, except for objectively justifiable and identifiable grounds approved by the authority, which in this case is the energy regulator. Please note that. Having highlighted that, members, are there any questions, comments, or guidance that you want to provide to the team? I don't see any other hand. I would then, here's Mr. Sibanda, over to you, sir.
Chairperson, I don't have any questions as such, but just to thank the team for processing the and attending to the issues that were raised by members. I'll give them the benefit of a doubt, Chair, since the updated submission is not here, but I think they've gone through the comments that were raised by members and attended or responded to them adequately. So I'm quite happy with that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. With that, members, as I said, with this is still going to go to ER for recommendation, and I think it's going to
Chairperson, my hand is up, Chair. I was up before Mr. Sibanda.
Oh, sorry. I don't have it. Nice, only now that I see you. Yes. Sorry for that, Mr. Kumede. You may come through, sir, please.
Thank you, Chairperson. Good morning to you and members and the members of management. Chair, unfortunately, perhaps as Mr. Sibanda says, we need to give the benefit of doubt. We could do that, but it's difficult to comment if we don't have the updated RFD, Chair. But it's okay, we'll give that a miss. I do want to talk about two things, though, that to me, it still comes across as the elephant in the room is that rolled up tariff. Well, there are two issues. That rolled up tariff approach, I guess for me, it remains an elephant in the room and it needs to be dealt with. And I'm just not too sure when and how that issue will be dealt with. I know some of it is sub judice because of the ongoing case, but if that is not resolved, if this resolves differently, it will definitely affect the actual tariffs, right? Not just that, perhaps might even affect the viability of the inland refinery. So I don't know, Chairperson, how we deal with that in this tariff approach, because that rolled-in tariff, if that is, it's not perpetuated going forward, it changes the whole dynamics of how this industry operates. So that's the first issue. But I think on the second issue, which, yes, I'd like to thank management. I did receive the draft in terms of the views that the management had put forward in terms of the road transportation. However, I do want to just raise my concern. I struggle with the concept, and I think, Chair, you would, we've been in this industry, you and I, for a long time in the oil industry. I think I've struggled with the concept personally of what has been proposed there, that you would have, other than for small demand areas, envisage a situation where you'd have fuel that is collected either from Natref, Sasolburg, the ore collected from Durban by road actually being transported into a secondary storage facility like an R road facility. I struggle with that concept. I mean, I'm yet to see, in terms of the experience that one has, is that road transportation by its very nature is that once you've collected by road, especially into the bigger metro areas, it goes straight to the final destination. And hence this direct bridging concept. So I don't know, Chair. So for me the concern is simple, and maybe I'll try to use the electricity example for this. That simply says, unfortunately, once households have put on rooftops, although at the beginning it may not be seen as it's a big issue for the distributors. But once they've put on and they've shifted the load to something, getting it back to the most optimal mode of transport in liquid fuels, which is the pipeline, would be almost near impossible. So the idea for me is that how do we retain, to the extent possible, the optimal use of that infrastructure, which is the pipeline, in terms of transportation, for safety, for all sorts of other ways? How do you retain it? But with an understanding that if somebody, the pipeline, the use of pipeline means you're going to move from coastal storage via the pipeline to the inland or to a secondary storage, and then from the secondary storage, you're going to actually distribute via road. How do you do this such that, how do we set the tariffs such that that is always maintained, that integrity is always maintained? Because it's not just about Transnet, it's about the whole safety. It's about the safe transportation of liquid fuels. For me, Chair, I'll be very uncomfortable that in terms of the decision that we make, in terms of tariffs, we don't consider that. Because primarily that's what we exist for. It's not just about, it's about the optimal use of infrastructure. It's about the orderly development of the industry. That yes, tariffs influence that. But if we overlook that and just, for me, it's really a concern, Chair. I'll actually rest my case, Chair. But I as I'm simply saying, I would have been much more happy had I seen the revised RFD to see how the issues were dealt with in the revised RFD. It's one thing to see the addendum, but if we don't have the revised RFD, yes, Mr. Sibanda says we give the team the benefit of doubt. Comfortable with that to some extent, but honestly, I would have been far more assured if I'd actually raised this, especially on these two issues that I've raised. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. Definitely, in the revised RFD, with those comments, will still have to be enhanced. And I think that it's also fair that maybe right now, Madam Masonga, if you can just share that revised RFD, not abusing my platform, but to say that it will assist to then also the enhancement be shared with the members soonest, soon after this meeting, so that they will have maybe even a second bite on the submission going to ER after I've had a look at it. With regard to Madam Assetti was having a problem raising her hand, so but I'll give her benefit of the doubt to say that this is a new hand from her. And let me hear from you, Madam Assetti.
Thank you, Chairperson, for the opportunity. Is my hand, Chairperson, and if you could kindly note also the points that I wrote in the chat. Yes, Chairperson. I'm very worried and concerned about the fact that we do not have the revised RFDs, because matters like this are supposed to be properly processed in the subcommittee. And that is so that we do not, raise issues at the ER level. Because the devil will be in the detail, Chair. And there are specific things that we requested the team to do during the workshop. And I haven't heard some of those issues being dealt with even in the presentation. Now, without even having the RFDs to see how those issues have been sort of verified and now dealt with, to address the concerns and guidance provided by the members, it is a challenge, and it is something that we also read, if you recall, Chairperson, in the ELS, which then led to some of the submissions of the ELS committee being, returned back to the committee whilst they were taken to the ER. So I would like us to make sure that the committee is given the opportunity to properly process, the reasons why we believe that the double-digit increase of this magnitude is appropriate, and whether we are allowing, this licensee to be properly compensated if, for instance, we have not satisfied ourselves in terms of the efficiency of the costs that are requested by this licensee, and also the prudency considerations with regards to the other cost and the capital for this licensee, Chairperson. You will recall also that we said, when you look back and look at the sort of the impact, even now for this decision, if one were to compare the contribution in terms of the volumes, because the asset must perform, it is important for the energy regulator to consider the efficiency of the utilization of the asset, as well as the performance of the asset. Now, does this asset really perform to the expected standards in terms of even generating sufficient volumes here, so that at least we can also benefit from the sort of declining average cost due to the throughput that is realized through this asset. Now, it seems the volumes have not grown to the level of satisfaction, Chair. Yet the capex keeps growing. So what does that tell us, that kind of picture? What does it tell us? And it's no different from other licensees that we have seen, in terms of keep loading up the asset, and the amount is too high, yet people are getting less. So I'm very worried about that, because we also requested that be shown even for the past 10 years, because this project has been going on for years and years. And is that good? Is that in the public interest? And that consideration of the public interest is also very important when we step back and taking a decision as the regulator in this sector, so that the licensee does not just get what it wants, and the licensee is not made to account. And yet we just say, oh, this is the cost, it needs this cost, and therefore for it to be able to, to operate, yet we're not seeing the benefits. And what we see here is that the capital will keep growing. And we talk about the licensee that has failed to deliver and do certain things. Now, at the same time, we still bring the time value of money. And now, if even with this deferment of the capital, does it mean that we are going to apply the time value of money? It's a notional cost, and it's just going to increase the tariff to higher levels. So there's a lot of things, Chairperson, some of which are in the chart, but I am very worried, Chairperson, if we are to take forward the recommendation without the opportunity of the committee doing its work in terms of looking at what are the reasons for us to take a decision. Yes, it's not a final decision from a perspective of an administrative action. It's only the final decision of the energy regulator that is an administrative, but we must, as a committee, assist the energy regulator to arrive at a reasonable decision and well-informed decision. Without perusing the RFDs, I don't think that we would have done our job. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you. Maybe before the team responds, I think I note the issues that are raised, mainly around the RFD. I would get to that in terms of the decision. There is, I wonder if Madam Masete, you do have the addendum that has been shared, which talks to the questions raised during the workshop, and then the management's response thereto, which are then factored into the RFD as outlined in this addendum. It's just unfortunate that the updated RFD in its completeness has not been shared because of the issue that has been explained earlier. I think it's important to also outline certain things, which I think will kind of provide a basis. Management, when you respond, so that, for example, if you look at section 21, it talks to this discrimination is actually when a licensee discriminates, and then we're looking for, then the authority then looks at these being justifiable, the grounds being justifiable, objectively justifiable, then providing an approval for that. Unlike in a situation where it is the customer of the licensee that is pleading for that, which is a matter that first and foremost starts with the negotiation with the licensee. So there is scope for that, and I think that is why I said the team, they need to then enhance in terms of the just addressing the issue that is in section 21, which is part of the enhancement. Then I look at other issues that have already been dealt with based on other previous decisions of the regulator, which decisions they provide also reopeners, and we'll get to those reopeners when we are firmly looking at the issue at hand. For example, the decision on the rolled-in tariffs as well as a separate tariff for the line, which we have said that post this stage, this application will be looking at that in particular. In fact, work at a background level has already been started. That was my understanding. In terms of the refractionator for the intermixture, is that there was a decision that we took as the regulator, and that decision for now prevails. Same thing applies also with the deferment of capital, which was seeking to assist the consumer, because the consumer also at the same time, whilst being supported, cannot win both ways, in as much as the licensee cannot win both ways. The time value of money, as I indicated earlier on, has always been there. And it is a fair principle if one looks at saying that in terms of the pricing, we don't necessarily change that time value of money because of the frequency at which the price changes, because you still have got the price prevailing for a month, and then you change it like it happened with effect of today with the fuel prices. So it's taking that into account, as well as also when it comes to the tightlining aspects, in the addenda is being dealt with there. And my understanding is that when it comes to this, when we're looking at the 10th amendment of the Transnet pipeline construction license. We're dealing with it on the 30th at ER. Those issues in terms of having to increase the capex without necessarily that translating into increased volumes was also discussed in terms of the challenges in having to stop and start the line because of how this tight lining operation goes, and with the even deteriorated operation because of this importation of product. So I'm saying that let's also separate issues that we've dealt with separately and they're just imported into here, but not saying that the team must not include those things. It's important for the team to include those things, but being able to also make references in terms of the decisions that we had already taken. Looking at the figure as it stands, as I said, it's going to ER, but looking at what was requested vis-a-vis what is being put forth here, there's something that there's some application that there's demonstrable value add in terms of the regulator actually coming in, weighing in to be of assistance in terms of the efficiency in this regard. And I do agree with Mr. Kumete when it comes to say we're not simple. Yes, Transnet is got the monopoly. It's a dominant player, but we're not regulating Transnet. We're as a company on its own. We're regulating the industry, and hence the efficient use of infrastructure, including road infrastructure, is of importance and it should come through. And that is a kind of enhancement that must be there. So in terms of also road bridging, I do accept that. That's why the team has said, go look and say, for me, I don't see same thing. I don't want to repeat what you said, Mr. Kumet, to say you don't go to take product from Durban and then you're still gonna put it in some storage. Most likely it goes straight to the service station and it's being stored there. So look at that in terms of how these volumes actually are split and work on that. Unfortunately, as also Chair, now in a situation where the applications, one tends to stand afar so that one does not get his mind clouded in terms of decision making. But the issue of improving performance in terms of the volumes being pumped is that there's a pending engagement with Transnet, because we had requested them to provide concrete steps to be able to improve that. Part of which also depends on the policymaker being the shareholder. Also, you note that even when we're approving the 10th amendment, installing the two pumps has been now excluded, simply because they were saying it doesn't have to, you only include additional pump station if the volumes pumped are increasing. So I just want to allude to that. But maybe in terms of really us being, all of us having comfort with the decision that we're taking, and not maybe saying that we're taking benefit of we're giving them benefit of the doubt. I wouldn't mind, and I think maybe it could be appropriate to say, we've discussed these issues, let's discuss further if need be, and then the team can then kind of quickly round robin this, because it's a matter of them packaging it properly, and then it can be round robin, and so that it can be there on time for ER to then consider. They might even do a parallel submission with ER in terms of the round robin and the submission to ER. That would be my proposal. I don't know if that will make you more comfortable with that. Before the team really, I wouldn't like the team maybe to come in and respond to the substantive issues, but just to deal with that aspect once and for all. Mr. Kumet, I see your hand is up.
Chairperson, thanks for the opportunity. I think for me, I'll be far more comfortable with the round robin decision so that we can actually see what is contained in the RFT. I honestly do not believe it's optimal use of ER's time to have committee members raising the same issue that they had an opportunity to deal with at committee level, then raise it again at ER. So for me, I really would feel absolutely comfortable, Chairperson, that we actually have a round robin. And even if, for instance, I personally disagree with what's in the final document, it doesn't matter. There will be a committee decision of which I'm bound by, but at least I would have had an opportunity to see what is going to ER. So that would be my request, Chairperson. Thanks.
Thank you. Then, with that, members, by show of hands, if you support that, we can discuss, but let's round robin it by show of hands. I note Madam Massetti, Mr. Kumete, who support the round robin, Mr. Sbanda. I don't see Advocate Sithole. Okay.
Chair.
Madam Chair?
Oh, sorry, Chair. There is a post that indicates on the charts that Advocate Sithole is struggling with connectivity. So just to alert you.
Oh, okay, no, fine. But the majority of the people are supportive, so we will have a round robin. If EM and your team, if you can just work quickly on that, looking at the document that you had already enhanced, so it means these are going to be additional enhancement. You've seen what is in the chat. Be able to make sure that this is directly included into the addendum as well as the enhanced submission. So the comments are comments that have come through in this meeting, in this meeting as well as in the workshop. Are we good with that, EM?
I think comments is going to request that members be allowed an opportunity to read what we have prepared. That is aligned with what the is going to be. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Let's then proceed. If there are any other comments, maybe you still want to respond, Madam Bobo, if there's anything, and Mr. Kap.
So maybe before they come in, sorry to just budge in. I think on the issue of rolled-in tariff, maybe members can allow us time to just finalize the work that has happened, and we bring it to them for a workshop, for just an internal discussion, as we note that the matter is under subjudice, and unfortunately we might not be able to do that before the ER, but if then we allow just an internal workshop, because this is just a continuous concern that we'll still need to deal with. And then also we I think we do agree with the Mr. Kumete. There was in terms of the road tariff, we did have a discussion with the team when we were doing the calculation, to say that really the calculation is based on a number of assumptions. It will make economic sense for one to take a truck straight to a service station. Hence, we said we'll then justify it with the percentage of what's really happening, and give a full account on that on the submission going to ER. And I think on the comments, most of the comments that have been raised, I think we are in line that they are in the addendum. They have been considered, and I think in terms of the RP, we had requested that the previous decision that was taken be also be posted on the reading room, but I'm yet to confirm if that we were able to do so. But I think that when the members look at the document, they can maybe then still provide further guidance. But we think most of the comments that have been raised are addressed in the addendum. However, what has been raised today will still quickly enhance and try and circulate the round robin as soon as possible. I don't know, Ms. Boko, if you still have anything else to add. Thank you.
Okay, before Mr. Boko comes in, I think the issue of the road tariff, it's a separate project on its own, and it's going to have those milestones, including whatever workshop that we have. So let that take a life of its own, but taking due cognizance of this process. I think it's important because it's work that has already been there. And it's going to be important also, even those items that are included, that are already dealt with in the addendum, in terms of the angle at which they are being put here. It's important to then address them as such, because it's one thing to deal with a matter coming from a different angle, whereas not really coming in the context that is being put forth here. And it's important to deal with that, especially now that we have had this discussion. Let's make full use of this discussion in enhancing the document even further. Yeah, I will leave it at that. Madam Bogo, Mr. Gaba, anything to say from your side?
We're covered, sir. Let us update the or refine the updated submission and then convert it to round robin. We'll also tabulate comments made today and responses there too. Thanks.
Thank you. If it is like that, I take it, Mr. Gaba, you also covered. Members, I hope there are no further questions or guidance to provide, but if any, you may raise your hand still. Okay, I think then it's up to you.
Chair, Mr. Sibanda's hand has been up. I don't know if it's only on my side. Sorry.
I don't see any hand that is up here, but Mr. Sibanda, you may come in.
No, Chair, my hand is not up.
Oh, okay. Maybe it's a Cape Town thing, that one, Madam Toa. I don't know, but it's fine. Let's then continue. I will. We've already resolved that the matter is going to be round robin, and I implore the team to say, make sure that you work quick on it. You know that we are in this situation today because of the challenges regarding loading the document, etc., etc. Let's make sure that we don't have same. And I would also implore the members to promptly attend to this submission, noting the agency in terms of the timelines for the incorporation thereof into the changes in fuel prices in the coming financial year. With that, the matter of item 6 is concluded. We'll then proceed to item 8, with item 7 having been withdrawn. We'll deal with item 8, which is the implementation of the methodology to determine uncommitted capacity at the petroleum storage facilities, which is for approval. It's a report from the PPR division. Madam Toa, Dr. Xolo, if you can just come in and assist. I give you two and a half minutes for that.
No, thank you, Chair. Good morning, members, management, colleagues, and members of the public. The methodology that we're talking about to determine uncommitted capacity is the one that was approved by PBS on 16 February 2022, which is a hybrid approach where there is a minimum stock tons, but anything that is above that is deemed optional. Since the approved methodology, we have seen 2 licenses that have opted for a higher stock tons, so which translate to creating more space for third parties. But one of the 2 companies have sort of gone back to the normal stock tons, but the reasons are provided in paragraph 651 to 653 pertaining to that. So as it stands, we've got one company that just using more stock tents than prescribed, than the minimum prescription. And then we have also received an informal request or proposal from one of our licensees in terms of revising the methodology pertaining to a particular product. But the information pertaining to that appears paragraph 610. But the reasons that were provided, although that was informal through engagement with that licensee, but the reasons that were provided was insufficient to trigger any changes. It promised, that licensee promised to come back. It hasn't come back, but information is provided in the submission and the report. So based on the information that has been observed as far as implementing the methodology to 21 atomic capacity, there is no trigger to revise it. With that, I would like to request members to approve the report to keep the status quo of the methodology. Thank you, Chair and members.
Thank you, Dr. Xolo. Any questions, comments, guidance from the members? By show of hands, please. Seems like your presentation was very clear, Dr. Xolo. There are no hands. I'll just go then to the recommendation where it states that it is recommended that the PPS approve the report on the implementation of the methodology to determine uncommitted capacity at the petroleum storage facilities, which suggests to keep the status quo. By show of hands, if you support the recommendation, members. Thank you, Madam Masetti, Mr. Kumete, Mr. Banda. I also support, Advocate Stoller is also supportive. Thank you very much. The report is approved. We'll then proceed to item 10, which is the decision and reasons for decision on the tariff application by Shell Downstream South Africa, Pty Ltd, for its 6 petroleum storage facilities across South Africa for the period 1 January 2024 to 31st December 2026. This is for approval. Over to you, Madam Borg and the team.
Thank you, Chair. Ms. Mahopela is ready to just take members through the submission.
You've got your 2.5 minutes.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning. The purpose of this submission is to request the PPS to approve tariffs by Shell Downstream South Africa for the operation of its petroleum storage facilities in Alberton, Kroonstad, Mossel Bay, Polokwane, Rockies Drift, and Witbank for the period 1st January 2024 to 31st December 2026, and to also approve the decision and reasons for decision document attached here to as Annexure A. On 1st August 2023, SDSA submitted the tariff application to NERSA, which was deemed adequate for processing on 9 October 2023 after receiving the additional information. The previous application approved by the energy regulator was in 2020, and the increase from the previous tariffs are mainly due to the assets in the tariff included in the tariff application, the implementation of the RRMs by SDSA as stipulated in the RFD, which affected the allocation of costs and operating costs and the assets, and the effect of volumes on Kroonstad and Witbank facilities. The difference in the tariff applied for by SDSA in this tariff application and that determined by NERSA is mainly due to the different REB values and the tax expense. It is therefore recommended that PPS approve the tariffs applied for by SDSA for its 6 storage facilities stated on page 14 of the submission, and that the decision and reasons for decision be approved for publication. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Madam. Any comments, questions, guidance from members? I don't see any hands. It means your presentation was very clear, straightforward, understood by members. I will then take the members to the recommendation, which is on page 14 of 45, which the PPS is requested to approve the tariffs applied for by Shell Downstream South Africa for its 6 petroleum storage facilities for the period 1 January 2024 to 31st December 2026. For Albertine, 24, 25, and 26, I will read them out in that order, all of them. Albertine is 23.5 cents per liter, then 23.59 cents per liter, then 23.6 cents per liter. Kronstadt in cents per liter, 62.90, 2024, then 63.05, 25, and then 62.97, that is in 2026. In that order again, for Mossel Bay, 18.33, 18.51, 18.69. Pulukwane, 25.23, 25.33, and 25.37. Orokes Drift, 59.70, then 60.73, and 61.50. And lastly, for Wheatbank, it's 51.14, then 51.78, and lastly 52.30. Over and above that, the PPS is requested to approve the decision and reason for the document, which is attached here to as Annexure A. By show of hands, members. If you support, thank you, Madam Maseti, Mr. Kumede, Mrs. Banda, Advocate Tole. I also support. This then concludes item 10 and takes us directly to item 11 on the security of supply. Over to you, Madam Twa and Dr. Kolo.
Thanks, Chair. This is the second report for 2023-2024 financial year, of which focuses on the multi-product pipeline. Whilst if you talk of the Transnet tariff determination, that one is looking at the entire network, and you will sort of see some differences pertaining to that, because we've got different reference points. But what is also very important is the public hearing that happened on the 18th of December 2023, where Transnet told about their plan in terms of bringing the product into the pipeline. That is sort of provided in paragraph 681 to 686 pertaining to their plan, pertaining to that. Now we are saying, even if there is a zero growth in GDP as well as the fuel, because you've got something that you're doing in terms of improving the volume through the pipeline. Because of that initiative, even if there is zero growth in GDP, that will sort of translate to growth in the pipeline of volume. That alone. So, as well as with in the previous financial year, when you look in terms of their projections, they achieved 3% more than what they projected. We provided the justification. It was the PPS of 6 September 2023, where one thing that assisted them was in terms of putting the jet volume through the pipeline, and then they achieved that growth. Now, we sort of, because in December we received the revised projections from Transnet pertaining to what is going to happen until the end of the financial year. Based on that, they are saying there will be a 4% growth compared to the previous financial year, which is 2022-2023. Based in terms of what I've sort of, because what we've done an extrapolation based on the data that has been submitted up until December 2023. When you extrapolate that, and then you compare to what they projected, as well as in terms of what they plan to do to get the volumes through the volume through the pipeline. That is reasonable pertaining to that, but we wait to see the outcome, as well as in terms of how they succeed in terms of getting the volume through the pipeline. With that, I would like members to note the report. Thanks.
Thanks. I think of importance is to highlight the matter, the fact that the shift is actually not so much being concerned about the inland, the infrastructure to supply the inland region, but more about the increased utilization of that infrastructure to kind of get more value for the assets that have been installed. I think that always it's important to highlight that as a challenge that we see now. And as I had alluded earlier on, that there will be further engagements with the Transnet to look at options, which some of them would depend also on the policy side of things from government. But thanks, Dr. Xolo. Members, any questions, comments, guidance? Or I don't see any hands, so I take it that members will be happy to note the report. I just want to go to the recommendation, sorry, which is that the PPS is requested to note the second submission of the 2023-24 financial year reporting on the index security of supply, the revised format as noted on 6 September 2023, subsequent to the request made at the PPS meeting of 8 February, to be adopted going forward, and then the report focuses on the utilization of the multi-product pipeline. By show of hands, members. Mr. Kumete, then Madam Maseti, Mrs. Banda, Advocate Tole. I also support the noting. Thank you. This then concludes item 11. We'll then move to item, this concludes the agenda items for the open meeting. I would like to take this opportunity to thank, first of all, the members. Your questioning, your comments, your guidance that you provide in this subcommittee meeting is really invaluable. And I take it that management and the team will take that to heart on their path of continuous improvement. And with that, I'm resting assured that the team can only go from strength to strength if they really take this to heart and apply the lessons that they're also getting in this process across the board. So thanks. And now I also thank units like RAR, Corporate Services, RSU, because we really need to work together as a team for the good of the industry that we regulate and South Africa at large. And lastly, I would like to take this opportunity to thank all the members of the public that are following us through the various live streaming channels that we are using at our disposal, including YouTube and Twitter. So thank you very much, and thank to our technical person who assists in this regard, Mr. Gerald Defa and Mr. Totten. Thank you. The meeting then stands adjourned.